fatigue is exactly what it sounds like. It's when you're too tired to make a decision. And this is why decision fatigue is linked to procrastination. Because when we're exhausted, when we're tired, when we can't think about things, we say, oh, I'll make a decision on that later. I'll think about that later. And that is why we end up putting things off, because we've used up all of our energy on some of these decisions. I want you to think about it in terms of a quota. We have a quota of how many decisions we can make in a day. Once that quota is used up, then we start to slow down. And if you think about it in this way, you'll start to recognize that there are people out there that you've observed that are eliminating some of those useless decisions in order to conserve their decision-making energy for the big ones. So a classic example would be entrepreneurs like Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs. You'll notice that they wear exactly the same clothes all the time. You start to have a look at it, start to observe it, and you'll notice this. The reason being is they're eliminating a useless decision that doesn't serve them and doesn't help them, which is, what am I going to wear today? It's a common trick that entrepreneurs use to conserve that limited quota of decisions they can make in the day. And here's the thing, we don't even realize the little thieves of that decision quota. We don't even realize that's happening. I'll give you a classic example that's common for most people in the workforce. That is email. Now, we have very outdated and systems that don't support us anymore. Most people will scan up and down their inbox or looking through folders. They'll have different methods where they're scanning through all those emails, deciding which one will I do now, which one will I do next, which one is more important than this one. And we don't just do that once, we do it over and over and over again. We keep touching those things. We keep overhandling those emails. Now, David Allen, author of a book called Getting Things Done, who's one of the most contemporary thought leaders in time management, says we need to reduce the touch points, how many times we touch things. And if you think about it, every time we touch it, we're making a decision. Do I do this now or I do this later? And then we get exhausted and we put it off. So all of these little decisions are thieves of our decision quota. So here's some things that you can do to help reduce that decision fatigue. Make sure that you're making important decisions in the morning. Now, here's a tip if you need to get people to buy into something or if you need to sell something. Most people are more decisive and will make a decision in the morning. If you ring them in the afternoon and try and sell them something, they'll probably say, let me think about it, because they're putting off and deferring making a decision. Create some daily routines that with pre-made choices, so you're eliminating those decisions that need to be made. So for example, it's the clothing is one example I gave you, but it can also be doing meal prep. So you're not thinking about what am I taking for lunch today? It's been pre-decided and you've prepared all of it at the beginning of the week. Take breaks to remove distractions. Eliminate too many choices that you have to make in one moment. Allow your brain to rest so it has a bit of time to re-energize. It's a machine that's working over and over and over. You need to let that engine cool down a bit, and that will help you rebuild just a little bit of your decision quota. Make sure that you have capacity to outsource or delegate your decisions. I love digital tools because I can pre-program some of that decision making. I don't have to look at an email and decide if I'm going to move it to a folder or throw it away or whether I need to action it with any kind of priority. I can pre-program it to make some of those decisions for me. So if you can delegate some of the decision making that you have either to a person or to a tool, that really helps. Another thing I will do is with my team, I will ask them to review something, read it, and come up with some recommendations for me that eliminates the processing and thinking for me. There's summarizing the information, and it makes the decision simpler for me in that moment. Plan ahead so that you don't have to make complex decisions in the future. So it could be which restaurants we're going to go to when we're on our holidays, how many times we're going to eat out, how many times we're going to cook from home. Just some of those pre-plannings and the checklists helps eliminate some of that decision making. Now, for example, I have a checklist when I'm doing different trips for business. If I'm speaking on a cruise ship, my packing list would be completely different than if I was traveling to Darwin for work. But I still have packing lists, so I don't have to really think about and make any decisions and what am I taking, what do I need to take, what don't I need to take. That decision making has already been done. Use focus time and set time limits for how long you're going to think about something or make a decision. Give yourself a deadline by which time you're going to have that decision made. Another thing that I do with clients which really helps in their decision making is getting very clear on their purpose, vision and mission. And this is their own personal statements around why do I do what I do? Where do I see myself going in the future, and how am I going to get there? And I work with clients to come up with strong statements around this. It sounds really simple, but it's incredibly powerful because that then becomes a filter through which people can make decisions. If they're deciding whether or not to take on a client or to change jobs or to expand in this area or to do this thing, they can actually look at those statements of purpose, vision and mission and then decide, does that decision align with that? And can I justify how it aligns with those things? It makes the decision making so much easier. It also comes down to what you're saying no to. What are the boundaries and the limitations? Yes can be easy, but it's the things that you say no to that make your yes so much stronger. And so eliminating the complexities around those decisions, yes to that, no to that, helps ease that decision fatigue. So your goal is to think about how do I reduce the amount of energy that needs to go into a decision, but also how can I eliminate some of the decisions, the useless decisions that I'm making that I don't need to repeat and make every day. If you've got any tools, tips or strategies around this, I would love to hear what you utilize to make your decision making easier. I don't want to hear about you flipping a coin, but what are some of the other things that you use that reduces the amount of decisions you make or just makes that process easier? I would love to hear from you.